Welcome to another edition of Behind the Meal. On this episode, I'll be talking with Jen Caney-Beebe and Nora Logston with Vantage Aging, where they oversee Meals on Wheels of Northeast Ohio. We'll be chatting about building community partners and how Meals on Wheels can be a gateway to services for seniors in need. I'm your host, Dave Colling. All this and more coming up on Behind the Meal. Hello, and welcome to Behind the Meal. Join me as we delve into the stories behind Meals on Wheels, meeting the incredible people who make it all happen. Hello, and welcome to Behind the Meal. Today we have with us Jennifer Caney-Beebe, Director of Home and Community-Based Services with Vantage, where she oversees Meals on Wheels Northeast Ohio. Jennifer's background in healthcare and mental health services, as well as being a licensed social worker and licensed professional clinical counselor, brings a wealth of experience and knowledge that puts her in a position to truly help her community beyond just a meal. Also with us today, Nora Logston, dietitian and project development manager, has been with Vantage for 40 years and seen the organization go through a lot of changes and can help us understand the history of not only Vantage, but of Meals on Wheels and the services they provide throughout Northeast Ohio. Thank you both so much for being with us today.
Thanks for asking us.
Well, it's an easy ask, doing a little research. I see you guys are doing some great work, and I think it will be a lot of fun to share your work with other Meals on Wheels programs, and hopefully we can all learn from what you're doing. Tell us just a little bit about your Meals on Wheels program and your relationship with the larger organization, Vantage.
Sure, I can start there. Meals on Wheels of Stark and Wayne counties merged with Vantage Aging, the parent organization, in 2019. So we are a program of Vantage Aging. Vantage Aging has 3 programs in total, retired senior volunteer program and a senior workforce development program. And then we have the Meals on Wheels.
Vantage as a organization is focused on seniors.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And what about the community you're serving there throughout Northeast Ohio? What does that look like?
The community that we serve can be challenging. We have an urban area, a very rural community, very aging community. In the 4 counties that we serve, it has a very high senior population. The one county, Wayne County, is very rural, so that can have challenges. Has a very high Amish population, and they don't obviously use our service, but it makes it challenging then to get to other individuals because you're driving farther to get from one person to the next.
I can imagine your route creation could be difficult sometimes.
That can be a very challenge, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, I was on a route this afternoon that was in a little bit of a country setting, and I wasn't sure I was going to get back. But my stops were few and far, they were far between. So I traveled probably 10 miles between homes on the route I did today. But that's not the norm. Most of our routes can be completed very quickly, an hour tops, and usually have about 12 to 15 people that they will see on their route.
Okay. And so what is your typical, I guess not really typical if you're looking at urban and rural, clientele look like? Obviously seniors. Your average age increasing, decreasing, getting larger, you mentioned?
What would you say? I would say that it's the average age of the individual we serve is probably 80 years old. We deliver to all age groups, though, so we have a lot of younger individuals that are receiving our services, but they're primarily living alone, just not able to get their own meals. I would say that they're able to do some of their own daily living tasks, but cooking just is something that is beyond them. What would you add to that, Jen?
I would say they're probably low to moderate income as well.
The ones that are, you would say, that are especially the younger folks.
What's that?
But especially the younger folks you're dealing with, you would say maybe low to moderate income.
Yeah, the seniors also.
CR.
Everyone we serve really would be low to moderate income, Medicaid, many of them.
And with the ones that are the non-senior population you're serving, what are most of those folks, as you mentioned, maybe not able to cook or low income? Are they coming in through other services? Is this a kind of an add-on to other services they may be receiving from the state, county?
Exactly. They're usually a waiver client that is also receiving some other home care services that they have qualified for as well. Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
We do have about 12 individuals that are not funded through any sort of state or federal programs, but that we fund here internally because many years ago we sort of determined that there was a gap. There's a need for people who couldn't afford the meals, who weren't old enough to receive the senior services. And so we've got about 12 folks that are still low income, but
I was going to ask you about so like folks that are kind of falling through the gaps that aren't qualifying for other programs. So you're internally paying for those meals, for those services yourself, and is that
a lot of fundraising that goes on, a lot of grant writing that goes on to be able to do those kinds.
Is there a particular in your area, maybe community based or corporate based, that have been really helpful as far as those grants that have come in that may not that helping folks that may not be able to be eligible for other programs?
We have a GAR foundation in Summit County that's helped us significantly with meals. We have an Austin Bailey Foundation that has helped us with many things over the years. Right now, they've given us funding towards the purchase of a new refrigerated vehicle to help with our deliveries in one of the counties. And then in the rural county, Wayne County that Nora mentioned, we have many opportunities to work with their community grants services to get some local grants for those clients as well. We have a community in each of the counties that we serve that, you know, they really do try to spread those foundation dollars around the best that we can. We're grateful that we've been the recipient.
That's wonderful. You mentioned your refrigerated truck van. I guess we could. What is your like a typical, if there is a typical, delivery process look like? Do you have your own kitchen where you're making the meals? Is there separate areas depending on which county folks are in?
We have a commercial kitchen at our main office in Stark County. Nora can tell you more about that. She was here and participated in the building and designing.
So our kitchen facility is about 28 years old, I believe now. And prior to that, we were a catered program where we would obviously bid out and have a caterer that would provide our meals for us. We got to a point where we felt the need to see if maybe we needed for stability, our own kitchen. And our director at the time and myself, we went around the country and talked to other Meals on Wheels programs to see their kitchens and what they were doing. And when we came back, we didn't know what we wanted, but we knew what we didn't want. And we felt that at that point in time, it was in the best interest of this agency to build our own kitchen. So we did that, and our kitchen is able to provide, we could prepare 5,000 meals in our kitchen at one time. And over the years, we have had to do many, many meals for different organizations as well as our own. So a tip back to your question of a typical day is all meals come from this location. Okay. We prepare everything on site. We do purchase our frozen meals from an outside purveyor, but all of our hot meals, our breakfast meals, our sack lunches are all prepared here fresh daily that go out to our clients.
Okay. And oh, that's okay. So 28 years with your own kitchen, and the frozen meals are brought in.
Yes.
And so are the frozen meals coming to and your hot meals all to one spot where volunteers are delivering, or
yes,
do you have like a hub and spoke system?
We do have, right. We do have a location in Wayne County that every day in the morning, we take the food over to Wayne County, and we have a staff person over there who heats it and gets it all packaged up for the volunteers to come in and pick their meals up and deliver to Wayne, that county. all the rest of the volunteers at this point in time come here to our location in Massillon and pick up their meals and deliver throughout Stark County. In Summit County, we have some paid drivers and they deliver the Summit County. And in that county, most of the recipients all receive the frozen meals. So they just receive a delivery one time a week.
5 meals, 7 meals usually.
5 meals, 7 meals,
Yeah.
some 14, depends
Okay.
what their funding will allow.
I should step back. We've been talking about this county and that county. How many counties are you serving, and what's kind of the breakdown? How would you describe those counties in a couple words?
We serve in 4 main counties, but we do have some contracts that extend through 11 counties. We just don't have a lot of deliveries in the additional 7 counties. So it's mostly in the 4 counties in Northeast Ohio: Stark, Summit, Wayne, and Portage.
Okay, and how would you break down to the more rural and versus the urban?
I would say percentage-wise, it's more urban. But there's one county that's got a really good mix of suburban and urban. But one of the main counties that we go to in Summit County has a very large urban cities.
Okay. Now, I also saw that you have a pets program that you're serving pet food. How long have you been doing that? And how many folks would you say are
longer? I've been here 10 years, longer than I've been doing that. In fact, today we have a partnership with the Summit County Animal Protection League. We get donations from them every month. So today we got a half a pallet of canned cat food. We have Western Reserve, one of our partners in Summit County also. They had a pet food sort of fundraising drive, and so I was able to purchase some dog food today. So we try to keep those shelves stocked. We can't purchase those with Meals on Wheels funds.
Yeah.
So it's really nice when organizations take it upon themselves to help support that. That our volunteers love to deliver the cat food and the dog food, and sometimes we have dog treats and special toys and whatnot. So, and because we know that those are considered to be family members that we serve.
And more cats, more dogs? What do you think?
I would say more cats.
Well, cats. Okay. That makes sense. For a lot of folks would be in apartments. Even. But now I'll have to ask you separately. Jennifer, Jen, I'll start with you. How did you come to this program and to where you are at Vantage and Meals on Wheels?
Sure. I worked at a nonprofit hospital setting and in a counseling practice. And I was just looking to do something different about 10 years ago. And so they were looking to hire a social worker. And so I was lucky enough to get the position here and just sort of grew with the agency and through the merger and everything to be in that I'm at now. But it's been 10 years now.
And prior to your professional nonprofit and social experience, what brought you into that line of work? I mean, is there something you could look back at and say, this is what kind of made me decide I wanted to make my community better, or work with folks?
Yeah, it was just always an internal desire to be in the helping profession and to be helpful to individuals, seniors specifically, was always just sort of a focus probably related to growing up and my family. And so it's just been a good fit for me personally and very real.
That's great. And Nora, you've got couple 2, 3, 40 years here at Vantage. And,
yes.
What brought you not just to Vantage necessarily, but into the space?
Well, actually, I've started here straight out of college. And when I was...
You must have graduated college very young.
Yeah, very young. And when I was finishing up my degree, one of my professors approached me, and the Meals on Wheels program had reached out to the university. They were looking for a dietitian and was just asking, was anybody could they throw anybody out there? And she asked if she could send my resume along. And I said, absolutely. If it means a job, I'll go. And prior to that, through high school and college, I worked at a hospital in their nutrition services department, and that's what made me decide to be a dietitian. And I always thought I'd work in a hospital. I never thought I'd work in the community setting. But once I got here, obviously it stuck. And it's been great to watch this program grow, to be a part of that. and just to share what we can provide to the community. I've met so many wonderful people through not only our employees here, but just the clients that we service. They really become friends.
And speaking of the clients you're serving, most of the programs I've spoken with here and just in general, I'm sure you have too. There's always some stories that kind of stick out. Beyond that meal, it's just that it's those the outreach, the checking in, those kinds of things. Are there anything that stick out to both of you or either of you that over the years? I'm sure, Nora, there's a few stories that maybe stick out about a certain client or family member of clients, things like that.
Oh my gosh, there have been many, just many. I think a lot that's really helpful or makes us appreciate what we do is the families that reach out to us when we have called them to say, hey, your mom didn't answer the door today. Can you check on her? And I remember one time the daughter called me back and said, I can't tell you how wonderful it was that you saved her. She got in the bathtub in the morning and couldn't get out. And had we not called, she probably would have been in the bathtub until her daughter checked on her at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Or may have gotten hurt trying to get herself out of that. And the daughter was so appreciative to know that we don't let it go if they don't answer the door. We had another instance where one of our volunteers had delivered to a client on Friday, and she was what is called a knock, announce, and enter. So she would unlock her door in the morning. We would knock and open the door, yell Meals on Wheels, and go on in. And he had done that on Friday and put the meal on the counter where she always wanted it and spoke to her, and he left. Well, he happened to deliver for us on Monday. He filled in on the route. And when he got to her house, he was concerned because the door was open. And as soon as he went in, he saw Friday's meal still sitting on the counter. And here, right after he left, she fell. And she laid there all weekend until he came back on Monday. And she said, I knew you'd be coming. She was 90, I think. And she did well. She had a minor injury, spent a couple days in the hospital. But again, her family and she herself just were so thankful that we go that extra mile, not only bringing a meal.
Oh, yeah. Well, and those stories I think are so important. Obviously people think of Meals on Wheels, they think of us delivering the meal, but those stories that are beyond that are just, I think, are really important. What are some of the challenges facing either your program in general, just Northeast Ohio, that are maybe trickling down to your services?
We've had some food cost increases as everyone has in their own household. And so when you magnify that by serving, 1,000+ meals a day, those pennies matter. And so Nora is our dietitian and Jenny, our kitchen operations manager. They've been really creative in trying to make sure that we are still serving very special, nutritious meals that look good and taste good for our clients, as we would want to serve to our own families. With more constraints on budget. So
no,
I would say that, and what was that?
No, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
And just sort of funding. Prior to sort of the Older Americans Act, waiting to make sure that was going to be those funds were going to come through. It's always a funding for all the years I've been here. It's a funding issue that you have more people in need than you have to serve. So a team that works so hard at fundraisers and again writing grants just so that we can feed the people that need us.
We've talked to so many people that have just organizations just were waiting for that January reimbursement to come through until they saw it. No one was quite sure, but it was great. And speaking, the meals, and maybe not just cost, but just the changes in the meals, and over your time there, how have the meals themselves changed?
Well, I think that the meals have changed because the clientele changes. So the 70 and 80-year-old of today is not the same, and they don't want to eat the same things that the 70 or 80-year-old when I started wanted to eat. So, staying with up on current things, trying to change up the way that you're providing meals. We have probably gone more to our meals are always have been healthy, but maybe more on a processed food
Mhm.
arena, doing more in the way of salads and lighter meals, but we still have the ones who want their meat and potatoes. So trying to do the happy medium, to make sure that we're offering what they want. We allow our clients to have choice so they can choose what type of meal they get, whether they get our hot meal. Some clients just get our sack lunch because they prefer that type of meal. We have clients who choose to get the frozen meals because they only want a delivery once a week because maybe they have other things going on, appointments, health issues that they need to be out of the house a lot. So we do provide them with that availability to make what works best for them.
And beyond the urban and rural parts of your service area, what kind of is there other diversity in the community that is either maybe growing? Some areas where you're serving, maybe it's a different kind of meal to certain, culturally specific meals, anything like that.
We have not really ventured into the culturally specific meals. We do have a few pockets of individuals, and we do service those individuals, but they are happy to have the meal that we do offer. It gets a little tricky, and back to Jen's, the cost would probably be prohibitive to do some of those things. But we do try to serve different items on our menu that would be culturally specific, just not maybe a whole different menu of it.
Sure. And you do have, if I remember correctly, medically tailored meals as well.
Yeah, we just started serving a carbohydrate controlled menu, and we have a pureed menu as well.
And that's fairly new.
The carbohydrate controlled menu is, yes, so just in the last couple of months.
What does a carbohydrate controlled menu look like?
I'll let the dietitian tell you. I can tell you it's between 45 and 65 carbs for the inside.
It can be a challenge. We are trying to use our traditional wellness meal and tailor it to our carb controlled individuals so that they aren't getting a totally separate meal than everybody else, because nobody wants to think that you're sending them something that isn't just like everybody else's. So we will just, maybe they're not going to get potatoes with their meal. They'll get an extra vegetable. We do make sure that they are getting if you want to call it a dessert, whether it be fruit, whether it be a unsweetened cookie that we can attain. But we try to make their meal look just like the meal everybody else does, but it's just for their sake and their health. We control the carbs in them so that it will fit in with what they eat the rest of the day.
Okay. When they first sign up, are you asking them about meal choices, or maybe I should step back? Are they signing up? Are folks signing up directly with you? Are they coming in as referrals from other agencies? A bit of both?
Yeah, it's kind of 50-50 on both the referrals that we're getting from like care managers versus people just calling into the agency on their own independently, trying to seek out meals. So we have a client services team that sort of does personalized meal plans for everybody based on days of the week that they like to have a meal delivered. Again, do you want a hot, cold, frozen meal? Do you only want breakfast meals? Or are you, we have to have a physician's order for a carbohydrate controlled meal, but that's something else that's discussed at the time of intake, and just trying to find out what other services might they need. They don't always just need a meal when they call. Sometimes they need other assistance. So we have a social worker that connects them with other sources to try to get them. People don't know always where to go to get different resources. Thankfully, Meals on Wheels is a pretty well-known name. So we get calls from people who want help with transportation just because they're like, oh, they help people. Let me call them. Maybe they would be able to put me in touch with somebody. We try to do it.
you're the first door a lot of folks come to when they need some help.
We try to make those handoffs smooth for them.
Right.
So not always giving a phone number. Sometimes with their permission, we'll make a referral or make a phone call or try to gather some information, send them things so they're getting it, over the phone, in their hands, and in the mail so that they can read over them.
It makes sense. What are some of the? I assume you're working with other nonprofits and that when you're doing that, or other government agencies. What does your partnership network look like? Either you going out or folks coming in.
Right. The AAAs that we have, we work with 2 different AAAs in the counties that we serve, and so they're great partners of ours. We reference them a lot of times with folks who are coming in and just calling us and not being referred by a care manager because maybe they need additional resources in the home, and that might be a good starting point for them.
Mm-hmm.
Or the local United Way information and referral services.
And are you working with any other organizations for like volunteer recruitment, things like that? Any corporate partners, or Nora, you mentioned you came in through the college. I don't, but
we do have a lot of we use volunteers to deliver the majority of our meals,
mm-hmm.
and we have many companies and organizations that have adopted a route. And, they will take one day a week or a couple days a month and make sure that a member of their team comes to deliver meals. We had a group pick up today, and they went on and on about how they love coming to deliver.
Yeah.
And it's, one of the highlights of their week is when they bring their team out to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
We have churches that will adopt a route. As well as just single individuals. We work with RSVP, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program. They help recruit volunteers for us as well. And that's one of the programs that Vantage also offers is the RSVP program. We never have enough volunteers, and in my 40 years, we have never had enough volunteers. But I will tell you that if someone comes to volunteer for us, they just have to go out one time and they will be hooked and are here. Jen, you might, because you're looking at those numbers monthly of our volunteers, what are some of the longest years that?
The longest I've seen is 27 years. But on their anniversary of volunteering, send them a thank you note. And so I do get to see how many years they've served. And so many of them are 10 plus years that they've been serving. And there are actually more than I would have thought, people serving 20 plus years with the agencies.
I know like the program I work for in Minnesota and other programs saw a change in their volunteers, certainly during COVID. As you know, a lot of the folks that are volunteers were the same people that were asking to be stay home. They are age group sometimes older than our folks that were serving. Did you see an uptick or a younger volunteer core come through during COVID, and have you been able to kind of hold on to some of those folks?
We did get some new individuals in, and a lot of them have stayed. Actually, probably we had a little different experience during COVID. We obviously did the immediate pivot and switched to frozen meals, and we were using staff pretty much to deliver those. But our volunteers really were not happy that they weren't here helping. And we shortly into it had to make another switch because they were pounding on our doors wanting to come back to help. We did lose some, but not many. And here, just within the last probably 6 months, we reached out to those that left us then, and many of them have come back. They were ready to return. So I think overall through COVID, I want to say we did not really lose that many, but we did gain quite a few new ones.
Okay. Well, looking kind of towards, we know that's a little bit about the past, but what about the future of Vantage, your Meals on Wheels program? Any big plans or hopes that you'd like to see?
Just to really be able to serve more people. We do have a waiting list in 2 counties, and that's really difficult to have folks call in and need help, and you can give them food bank resources. We do have a partnership with the local food bank where they do some home deliveries of food boxes. So they can get some things, but many of our folks are homebound and they're not able or have family to get to food banks. So that would always be the hope, is that nobody has to wait. As Meals on Wheels America would say, on the wait.
Right.
That would be a hope, and always just to expand and creatively serve in different pilot programs, maybe with different organizations, to serve a population that we haven't served before. We did we called it a food truck. It's not traditionally like what you would think of a food truck, but providing food for folks who didn't qualify for home delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Who used food banks. We would go to food banks and be able to give them meals. At that time, we had some funding that allowed us to do that. And so that was serving a population that we hadn't been able to serve before. They either couldn't get to a congregate site, didn't want to go to a congregate site, and didn't qualify for any kind of funded, supported home delivered meals. So that was a great opportunity. So we're always looking for creative ideas about how to serve folks we serve.
And Nora, any changes you see coming on the food side, the meals?
That is always changing. And it's a struggle. As Jen said before, we have to get more creative with less dollars, and that makes it a challenge. But I hope to continue to be able to provide the nutritious and the very appealing meals that we do provide to our clients, and to continue to get their feedback and just keep expanding.
Well, thank you both for being here today and for all the work you do. If folks wanted to get in touch with you to volunteer, maybe make a donation or 2 or 3, well, it would give us your website and maybe a phone number.
Sure. The phone number would be 330-832-7220. And the website is vantageaging.org. That's VANTAGEAGING.org.
And I'm sure you're on all the social media outlets.
Absolutely. Facebook. We have a great video, actually, of Nora's mom for a kickoff of our campaign, talking about what Meals on Wheels means to her. So, yes, we do try to reach people.
Wonderful. Well, again, I just want to say thank you both for being here today, and as we move forward here with the program, and hopefully all the money's going to start pouring in after everybody listens to this and the great stuff you're doing. So again, thank you so much.
That would be great.
Well, good. We'll try to make it happen.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Nora and Jen from Vantage Aging for spending some time with us. Programs like Meals on Wheels Northeast Ohio are great examples of how Meals on Wheels can be a way for those in need to find the services to make their lives better beyond just a meal. As always, please send a message if there's any Meals on Wheels programs you'd like to see on Behind the Meal, and please share and subscribe. And thank you for all the work you do to make your community better. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome to Behind the Meal. Join me as we delve into the stories behind Meals on Wheels, meeting the incredible people who make it all happen.